Yo, yo, here I am. There's the volume. Excuse me. Well, the stream looks like it's actually working this week, which is nice. All right, what we got? Oh, hey, Rare Nugget. That's awesome. Yeah, that's great to hear. I'm really glad that the videos are working out for you. Thank you for sharing, my man. Glad to be of some kind of service. Yeah, I don't know what was up with last week with my internet. It was going a little bonkers. But we should be good. We should be good today. All right. I'm going to keep this low energy as always. Can you guys hear the music? I presume you can. I think I got everything all dialed into where it needs to be now, so I don't have to especially mess around with audio too much once the streams have actually started. Good? All right. Thank you. Well, I think maybe there's a couple questions on the Discord that I'll do really quick. Let me check. Stream questions. Okay, that was the last one of those. Will there be more tutorials in the future for RPG games? Oh, yep. Okay, I was going to say I did answer that, but I couldn't remember. But someone already gave a timestamp for that answer. Thank you very much. Okay, quick question from BFast. What does a day in the life of Peyton Bertram look like? How do you manage work and life and balance like the Force? Well, simply put, my man, I do not. This is the secret. Okay, we got... Oh, from Nitai again. Hey. I know you said you're not a voice chat person, but how about adding something like a host or live chat room and a waiting room so you can move people up and they can ask you questions in person? I know absolutely nothing about that, but I don't hate that idea. I don't dislike that idea. I'd have to look into how you do those or how that works, because I absolutely I've said this a million times. It's probably really annoying here. So I'm very off the internet, so I genuinely don't know what the standard procedure for something like that would be. But I do like talking to people in person, so that is an idea I need to write down. So thank you for that. Have I been watching any shows or movies lately? And what have I enjoyed working on lately? Lately, not really. I haven't. It's kind of been a minute since I've had some time to watch any of the new shows or movies coming out that I've wanted to. There's a lot of horror or horror-esque movies that I have been coming out that I haven't watched. I still haven't seen Nosferatu or Long Legs or Sinners or anything like that. So there's a bunch of movies that I want to watch. But I do very occasionally with some friends do a movie night, and normally we have seen movies that I have seen, but I saw Top Gun for the first time lately, and that kind of rocked. It was very 80s in many ways, but it was a really good time. Really good music too. And what have I enjoyed working on recently? Polishing up and redesigning and re-implementing some of the combat stuff for Rosa Starcross. That's been very fun lately, which is why the last week has been a little annoying because, I haven't really had much time to do much work. And the main thing that I've been working on is refactoring my menu system in Starcross Starcade Special, which needed to be done for a couple reasons. But that can also be fun in its own way. But it gets to the point where you need to add so many parameters for certain types of things that it just gets annoying to test it and stuff. So, but I should be done with that. I might actually be done with that. I'm not necessarily done with replacing all of the old sporadic, randomly coded menus in the game, but I've replaced a lot of them, and that should not take long at all. I think the system itself is done, so. But anyways, okay. Oh, geez, I already forgot to do the timestamp thing. That was probably like, all right. Well, I'm just gonna have to do the thing where I go back through again. No, I keep forgetting to do the timestamps as I go. Okay, but okay. So now we can move back to chat. How's everyone doing? What's up, guys? Love your game. Oh, thank you. I probably love your game too. Okay, AP19. What would you say is the most important thing to make a small game stand out? Oh, that's a good question. Something I don't feel like I'm qualified to answer, but I will speculate with you here. I mean, I would say with any game, the way to stand out is just to have a personality. Have your personality be, front and center, and your creativity. And honestly, I think that's probably easier to do with smaller games. Because if you're going to have like a really... And I'm not saying go like crazy stylized or anything like that, because maybe that's not your style. But I think just as long as you are doing something that's very true to yourself and something that you find very interesting, then that'll be the thing that makes it stand out. I mean, in a more like realistic and kind of cynical way, the thing that is going to make any game stand out the most is art direction. That's just kind of art direction / how impressive your graphics are. That's kind of just, fact of the matter. Number one thing people are going to notice about your game. Because you could have like the most mechanically rich game ever. But if it, if people don't like the way it looks, they're probably not even going to watch the trailer, so... So also, if you're not like the best artist in the world, that's totally fine because you can get away with super simple graphics that look good. I think the reason, and I did this on purpose, I think the reason a lot of people ended up clicking on my RPG tutorial series is because the characters and the pixel art in the thumbnails was pretty stylized with like the white outlines and the purples and pinks and blues. I mean, those are just like my favorite characters. So it's just, I didn't like formulaically figure out that art style to get people to click on it, but I was like, I would like to do something that looks like it would be easy to recreate, but is still kind of eye-catching. So, but I think personally the thing that like in terms of the long run of the most important thing to make your game stand out is just that it has like there's a lot of creative force behind it. You can tell a human being made it and not like a committee or, at worst like AI or something like that. Just put your real human thoughts and feelings into it. And I think that's pretty good. Hopefully that was a decent speculative answer. Like I said, I am no guru of marketing, not even close. Have I ever tried to make an isometric game? No, I haven't. Which is interesting because Game Maker before Game Maker 2, so Game Maker 1.4, actually had a quote unquote isometric grid, like room editor that you could use. I don't know what was up with that thing because it was not the standard isometric projection visuals where, they're like the half tall diamonds. They were like, it was like a full grid turned 45 degrees. So I don't really know what was up with that, but I never used it either. But no, I would be interested in trying out making an isometric game. I think in general, though, I just know that it would probably be easiest to do that in an actual 3D engine and then, fix the camera in a certain way to, like, if I wanted it to look like if I wanted it to look like pixel art, then I would just make the art assets to do it like that and fix the camera in a way that kept the pixels clean and stuff. You'd probably be surprised how many like pixel art RPGs that are isometric actually are literally like 3D games. But also I know that there's a lot made in 2D engines, and it wouldn't be too dissimilar, I think, from Rosa Starcross, because that game is also like a fake 3D game. But it is different for a number of reasons. And I think it would be a pretty big challenge for me. I'd love to sit down, and if at some point I had the time, that would be a really fun learning project to sit down and do. You just wanted to thank me for the tutorials? Ah, well, you're welcome, my man. Thank you for watching them. And you have a good night as well. Thank you for stopping by. How do I make the pixel art for my games? Well, the actual like program I use, I make most of my pixel art in Game Maker itself. And something that I found, which I was bad at pixel art at first. You're not going to be the best in the world at anything once you start it. I basically just kept going at it, and I just kept practicing. So that was the main one for like just regular pixel art, is just keep practicing, keep trying to emulate styles that you see. Someone's asked me this before, but I didn't say this, and I feel like I should say this. Don't start with like Final Fantasy Super Nintendo pixel art, where it's like tons and tons of shading, a million colors per sprite. It's supposed to kind of look realistic. I would say don't start with that, because that'll just like get you jumbled up and you won't really know what to focus on to learn. I would say start with like NES style, or like, Earthbound, Undertale, Hyper Light Drifter, games that have like big blocky colors, so you don't have to worry about shading and all that stuff. Start with that, and then if you want to make really detailed sprites, you can start learning that after you feel a little bit more confident. But also something that I do for certain art assets in my games is I'll make like 3D models and then render them down to pixel art and then clean it up after that. In some ways that's more difficult, but to me personally, in a lot of ways it's easier. So it's called, it's just called rotoscoping. So definitely look into that if you are having trouble with sprite art. Do I ever look at your stuff chat in the Discord? Unfortunately, I never look at anything in the Discord, really. Part of the reason I do these streams is to, actually check the Discord and check in with people who want to check in. Sometimes someone will ping me. I normally see or respond to pings, but, people are very, respectful of my time and courteous, so a lot of people don't ping me a lot. But if it's like fan art or something, then yeah, feel free to ping me or whatever, or sometimes one of my moderators will send it to me or whatever, and I'll try and comment on it. But I do think I miss a lot of stuff. Speaking of which, in a little bit, let's see, am I caught up? Okay, once questions are all caught up, I might open that and take a look. Can you make playlists for these streams so we can? Oh yeah, good idea. I should definitely start doing that. I wonder if I can do that in YouTube Studio. But like before I start streaming, like once I press stream, I wonder if there's a setting to like automatically add it to a playlist. But regardless, yeah, I can absolutely do that. Absolutely, I can do that. I mean, does YouTube not like also auto generate like a streams playlist, like a live playlist? No, they're probably not in order though. They probably would only play backwards though, right? That's kind of okay. Yeah. Regardless, I'll make one. Good suggestion. I didn't even think of that. Thank you very much. Do I use any shaders in my game? Oh yeah. I am not like a shader wizard by any means. I would love to be better at shaders. Only recently, or it's like once in a blue moon every like 18 months or something, I'll have a moment where I'm like, all right, I need to sit down and get slightly better at shaders again. So over the years, I have gotten ever so slightly better at shaders. Like a very disproportionately low amount of skill increase compared to everything else I've had to do. But yeah, I use shaders for multiple things. A big one I use them for is palette swaps. It's just a really easy way to like, if you wanted to get like alternate quote unquote costumes for characters where really it's just color swaps. And you don't want to remake or copy and paste every single sprite you've ever made and then like bucket fill tool, change colors. You can just use a shader, which is really nice, and like input which colors you want to be swapped out and then input what colors you want them to be swapped to. That's a good one. I use them for like, especially going in like dark areas. An effect that I really like doing that I did a lot in the demo and is also in Starcross Starcade Special, but the demo of Rosa Starcross has more, is using it to like, darken and like maybe blue or purple tint, but leave out certain colors at like a certain brightness, or literally put in certain colors into the shader where I'm like, okay, ignore this color. So it makes like everything gets dark, but there's a lot of like neon highlights everywhere. I really like that look, and I use shaders for that. And yeah, like I said, there's the palette swap one. I do that in a couple major ways, actually. There's one boss in Starcross Starcade Special where all of their raw colors are like really weird looking, because I separated all their body parts into different colors, and then I put a shader pass on. So one, I can be fickle. So sometimes I like to change colors and tweak things. And obviously if you have like a boss, bosses in the Rosa Starcross style tend to have a ton of animation, and they're all really big sprites too. So big sprites with lots and lots of frames of animation. So if I ever wanted to make an edit, it can be infuriating. So with that boss, they're like fully colored with shaders, and they also have like a visual effect on a part of their body that would have been impossible to just like animate on its own. So I just used shaders for it. But there's a lot of other stuff that I would like to learn how to do. I'd like to get a lot better at them. And have I used any other engines? No. Actually, yes. No, I've messed around in Unity before, not for long. I just started learning it maybe like a year or two ago. I got Unity, probably like a year. I started messing around with Uni, and learning some like, trying to transfer some of my Game Maker language skills to C# a little bit. Get used to, flying around a 3D engine and stuff. And I made some stuff, nothing even close to an actual game, just, tutorials, of course. But I just didn't have time to go more into it. But I've also opened Unreal Engine and messed around with it for fun before, but I didn't go as far as I did with Unity. And I've never tried Godot. I'd be interested to try RPG Maker, though, just to see what it's like. It seems fun. It seems like it would be a very like leisurely way to make a game. I don't know, though. I haven't looked into it, so I don't know how like actually hardcore it is or isn't. But I would like to mess around with that. That would be fun. Well, hello, Flash. Welcome. I just caught up on chat. So, yeah. But, I guess I'll finish that thought with, like, I think once I'm done with my big games in Game Maker, I'll mess around more with Unity. I think that also depends on what state Godot is at the time. If Godot has more overt support for, like, consoles and stuff, and, it'll just have a few more years under its belt. I might go to Godot, but right now I'm thinking I'd like to learn Unity. Just something with C#. Does Godot use C#? Does anyone know? I could Google it, but I'm kind of relaxed in a position farther kind of away from my keyboard. My favorite browser. I'm not too passionate about browsers, but I use Opera GX for one reason specifically. Like full 3, 4, no, 5 maybe. Maybe 6. Wow. No, I'm going to say 5. Like 5 years ago. I think Opera GX bought Game Maker. I think Yo-Yo Games is technically owned by the Opera people. And so if or they did like a I'm sorry, I'm very scatterbrained today. It's been a long week. They did a game jam in like 2020, I think, or 2021 maybe, I don't know. And it was like a week-long game jam, and there was money as a prize, which was nice. But 2, it was you could get your game, whatever game that you submitted, would get put on actual arcade cabinets and put in some places. I don't know. I never followed up on that. Obviously, I didn't win, but I did that, and to do that, all of the games were to be uploaded to the Opera GX like browser game store, game player thingy. So I had to get Opera GX, and I got it, and I just never turned it off. I just never swapped back to anything else. So have not changed. Be fast. I'm actually gonna kill you. I'm gonna destroy you. Will you just let me talk about Opera GX for once? Okay. Have I thought about making a ping roll in the server so you can ping the people who are... Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm not sure what you mean about the ping roll thing. Again, I am so offline. Like, I really don't... I assume there's so many like basic things that I don't do that I just have like no idea about. Okay, Godot C#, that's cool. Yo, welcome, Lord Clump. How's it going? Oh, that's really funny. That's actually really cool, though. It was Destiny. And then you'll find one to teach in the future when I'm, just Stardust. And then you will turn to Stardust, and they will turn to Stardust. And we'll just keep it going forever. No one will ever not know how to use Game Maker because of us. It's good work. My name is I'm the Stardust Dwagon from Yu-Gi-Oh. Thank you. Thank you for being excited for my game. Appreciate you. I'm also excited about it. I'm excited to finish it and just be done working on it. But we'll all get there. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. Oh, like a Discord role where you, like, the pings automatically happen to people who like opt into it. That would be good. That would be good. Yeah, we'll definitely need to be fast. We really need to have that meeting that I've kept putting off and not doing. I'm sorry. I keep on that, but we need to do that meeting to educate me on how Discords work. Yes, I do have a Discord, and hopefully at one point it will be usable. So, but yeah, here I'll put the link in if you in case you were interested in joining. I'm a terrible Discord runner though. You are allowed to ask anyone about that, and they will tell you. Here it is, in case anyone shows up and wants it. All right. Oh wait. Okay. There has been a new question added to this. Okay. Oh, and look at this. I can go ahead and put the timestamp on this one and not forget. 7 stream at. What are we at? All right. Nice. There we go. I see you. Okay. I saw that. Okay. So the first playable game I ever made before Rosa Starcross. There's kind of a couple. I'm a big, not finisher of things, as I think a lot of us probably are. But a lot of stuff I intended to finish. So the first thing I ever really made was like an extremely archaic version of Rose of Starcross. Like super plain, nothing going on. It was just a puzzle game, no combat, nothing like that. Crazy, crazy short. It was like my learning project, but I did put in everything I wanted to, and so which it was very simple. And so then that got like nuclear bombed after that because it wasn't really anything. Then I made a platformer that was like the main gimmick of it was if you fall down a bottomless pit, you actually just wrap around back to the top of the screen. And it was a puzzle platformer. So no combat, just basic crappy little platforming challenges and like puzzles with keys and doors and stuff like that. It was really, really simple, but it did have like a town, a first like level that went all the way to like kind of a dungeon. And then you like collected an item from the dungeon. That was a big deal. And then you like brought it back to the town. It was so like not functional, but I mean, you could technically play it and beat it. Like there was like, it was like a demo. And for a while I was super serious about that game, but I was just so young in my learning. It was pretty bad. And I mean, it probably didn't take me that long to make it, but it was just like it probably took me a lot of hours, but not necessarily a lot of days, like it was maybe a month or two of work. And something happened and like it like got totally fucked up or something. And it just basically became like, well, if I start this again, I'll have to start from the beginning, which was really demoralizing. And I was like, what? It probably wasn't that good anyways. And so then I went back to Rose of Starcross, which was called Behind the Rose at a point. And then I made like a whole demo of that, which is a pretty gosh darn different game than Rose of Starcross. And also not good. So I still love everything that I made though. But yeah, so I would say like I made like 3 or 4 little things. Oh, I also did do that Game Jam game that I mentioned a minute ago. And that is a finished game, arcade game. It's on the Opera GX game thingy. And it's called Curse of the Moon Dial. But the other day, Be Fast and I were looking for it. And I just couldn't find it. I thought it got removed. But only by like logging into my account and going on like my page could I find it. But it was really weirdly hard to find, even if I typed in Curse of the Moon Dial. So it may be like almost impossible to find. Oh, but yeah. So everything before like the big Rose of Starcross, that was before it. It's the king of the jungle. Will I ever make a video about NPCs and cutscenes? Totally. That'll be a part of a bigger series, but I will get around to that. Oh, okay, wait. We have another question in the Discord, which means I can timestamp it right now because I'm a smart guy. Okay, here we go. Wait. Okay, here we go. Okay, welcome again, brother. Nice to see you. I guess last question you've answered before. What's what's a game genre you've never tackled coding that I would like to make something with? That's a really fun question. Let me see. I mean, there's a lot of 3D games, which I guess 3D isn't really fundamentally different than 2D if you're using a pre-made engine. So I guess this is more of a genre question. But that being said, I do. Yeah, no, I think that. Yeah, I think I'd be answering that wrong if I went down that route. Okay, yeah. So like a type of game that like I would like to code to like learn something with, or like make a game that I haven't attempted. For a long time, it was like Sonic, because I always just was super interested in how they even made that. And I still don't really know how they made that work on a Genesis. Like, but I do have a Sonic demo that I made, that functions pretty well. So that would have been a big one, but now maybe something that's like a big simulation thing, or like a big open world or something. I'm not particularly interested in that, like playing wise, but it would be cool to sort of program like a big open, not necessarily procedural generation or anything, but just big game where it performs well, like that's something that I'm not totally sure I know how to do. And I think part of that would have to be like not relying on game makers' objects and stuff, but maybe doing a lot of like game logic purely in code without like necessarily checking collision boxes and things like that. I don't know. That would be something I would like to do. Something that's just very big in scale. I've never tried as far as amount of things happening at once on the screen. I think so. Something like that, like maybe something like Lemmings, with like a ton of little moving guys, or some kind of simulation game. I bet that would be fun to do. And it would probably be something where I would learn so much that I could apply to other games, that I would love to do that. So yeah, really good question. Thank you. Oh, and yeah, man. Yeah, you absolutely can share progress on your project and everything. Yeah, tons of people put up their like updates for their stuff, or like sprites that they're working on, or anything like that. So totally. Hello, I just want to thank you for the tutorials. Thanks so much. Finally, oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Pink's axolotl. Is that how you say those? I realize I've like never said that out loud. I've only ever read the name of the animal, but that's awesome to hear. Let's see. Oh yeah, still want to play Behind the Rose someday? You will. You totally will. I do have it. I recently made sure that I still had it. I probably still have the actual Game Maker file somewhere, but I at the very least have the actual demo executable. So, and I will absolutely put that up once Rose of Starcross is finished, no doubt. But also, yeah, I hope your week's gone well as well. Blue Kid. Oh, is Blue Kid gonna be in Starcross Starcade Special as an NPC? Shh. Spoilers. Oh, I like this. Be fast. What is a niche or under the radar feature / mechanic I'm really proud of adding to my games? That's a really fun question, and I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'm proud of all of my children. No, that is a really good question though. I'm I'm going to think about that. Oh, yeah, a roguelike. That also is a very good answer to the genre. But I have done some roguelike programming, though. I've never finished a project with it, but I haven't really attempted those other things. And BFast is doing the face because BFast knows I'm not like a huge fan of roguelikes. But it would be really fun to work on one, I think. Especially programming wise. I'm going to keep thinking about your other question, BFast, because I really like it a lot. Yeah, because I do want to think of something that's like small that I feel like is good that's in there. I like the... No. We'll come back to this. We'll circle back around. The Sonic thing arguably sometimes doesn't even function on the Genesis. That is kind of true. Oh man, favorite game of all time? Oh god. That's really hard. I mean, the default answer to something like that is like there is no number one game, but that's also kind of a boring answer. I need to practice being decisive. Honestly, oh boy. It's probably like Zelda 1, Majora's Mask, or Dark Souls 1. Probably. And that would be like, yeah. Because I could play any of those 3 games any day of the week. And I think they've also just had like a huge impact on how I feel about video games and like game design. So I would also mostly maybe just put those as like 3 extremely important games to me. Okay, be fast. Don't worry. We'll all wait. How long have I been working on the Starcross stuff? That's a great question. A very long time. And I have answered it before, but I always ramble, and I feel like maybe I always say it in a slightly more concise way. So I'll try and say it again. But I would say probably at the minimum, you could say, at the minimum, you could argue like 6 years. And at the most, you could argue like 10. But yeah, that's about the answer. And a lot of that has been, that's not 6 years of being a professional. That's just 6 years of working on the current iteration of the game. And, I've gotten a lot better over that time, and I've made tons of mistakes and all these kind of things and been distracted by, lots of different stuff. Just you get around, make a YouTube channel, make some money, things like that. But 6 years is probably the most apt answer, I would say. Have I seen any suggestions in the Discord that I want to implement? I do assume you mean implement to like the Discord itself and not like a game or anything like that, or tutorials. But actually, before you got here, there were a couple different lines of thought that came up where I learned something new and that I'm going to be following up on and looking into. And yeah, honestly, pretty much when it comes to like the Discord, most suggestions, I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And then I just don't make the time to, you're welcome, BFast, for waiting. I just don't make the time to sit down and implement these things and learn how to do it, which I was literally saying for the past couple weeks, I have been telling the princes of the Rose of Starcross Discord that we need to have a meeting so they can actually educate me on how to have things that are fun or, engaging in some way in a Discord. But that will, they definitely know more than me. So we're going to have a meeting and figure something out. Okay, epic. Caught up. Oh, sorry, BFS. You are my little princess. Right, be fast. Let's see. Okay, it seems like all of the questions are caught up properly. I'm going to take a sip of Fresca. I feel like there used to be more flavors of Fresca. I feel like there used to be like a lot, and the other day I went to look for Fresca, and they're all just like the grapefruit citrus one, which is odd. Oh, which part of my game? Oh, that reminds me of the other question that I didn't answer that I need to think about. My favorite part, or the part of my game I'm the most proud of. That's a good question. When it comes to, I like the combat system in both of, or I guess it's both combat systems in the game. Starcade is such a weird thing, man. It makes it so hard to talk about things. I'm such a dummy. But I like the Rose of Starcross combat and the potential it has a lot for like weird stuff and like puzzly enemies and scenarios and things like that. I really like that. But overall, I think the thing that gets me going the most is just like the presentation overall is where I just get to be like as creative as I possibly can. Because the presentation is fun too. Because there'll be times where I'll have like a cutscene or a boss design or something in my head for like literally like years before I get around to actually implementing it because it's like, far off or whatever. And so I'll have this very specific idea of something in my head, but when it comes to my actual abilities, I can't like perfectly replicate it in every way. So by the time I actually make something, it's like the thing that I've been thinking of for a long time, but then it's also kind of new because it has to look different because I can't just do exactly what my brain sees. So, like when I finish a big cutscene sequence or like a boss fight or like an intro or whatever, I finish all the visuals for like an area and like all the vibes are in and the music is in. In general, that's what makes me the most proud. And so I feel like that is the thing I'm the most proud of is like just getting like the vibes and the tone and stuff down a lot. But I do think they're pretty fun too. I am pretty proud of the faux 3D stuff in Rose of Starcross. It is not perfect, but I feel pretty good about when I do like level design and art asset design. I think it's pretty easy to read the like fake 3D, and there's a lot of other games that are like pixel art in 2D but have the 3D thing. And I feel like Rose of Starcross is pretty decent at communicating that like fake 3D depth. So you're not like too lost or too confused onto like what level a platform or something is. So I am kind of proud of that. But also I look at that game every single day of my life. So of course I'm very, very used to it. So I don't know if that's actually something I've done well. And that's why I need to think more about BFast's question. It's Jukebox history, everyone. Thanks for stopping in, my man. Just in time for the Fresca section, which we got to pretty early this time. Normally we get to, it takes us 3 or 4 hours to get there, but I mean, we're here for the next 12 after that. So, feel free to stay around. I was telling everyone about movie night, by the way, and Top Gun. So, feel free to chime in if you need to. The princes are B-Fast and Dan. Well, actually, the prince is Dan. The princess is B-Fast, as per request. And yeah, there's been some serious Game of Thrones type stuff going on. Like pretty. It's actually been pretty horrible behind the scenes. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, something about when the game design just like comes together, and you're just like, oh yeah, it's working. That is the feeling. And I feel like games are just. They're just so much more than the sum of their parts. I mean, every piece of art is, but there's so many types of art that go into making a game. Because sometimes I've put together a section and it like didn't really work. It didn't do what I was wanting it to do. Like maybe my idea was too specific or too too touchy. It like required a lot of precision. In certain ways, and a lot of times that comes down to like level design when I think of like a level design gimmick or something. And sometimes I try and think of something really clever and fun, and it becomes difficult to implement because it is based on some very specific ideas. So sometimes everything will come together and I'll be like, this sucks. That's absolutely happened a lot to me. So it's when everything does come together and you're just like, not only is this pretty close to what I wanted, but it's like a little bit different and kind of maybe even better or just more novel to me now. Like that's the moment. You did learn how to train the dragon. That's awesome, man. There's another question. Have I watched Attack on Titan? Who is my favorite Titan? I have watched Attack on Titan. I did what a lot of people did and watched the final season for like 6 years straight or something. There was one that had a really cool design. Which one am I thinking of? What's it called? Like the like weapon Titan. I can't remember what it's called. But that one was sick. That thing looked crazy. Oh, caught up again. All right, time to keep thinking about that one stupid question B-Fast had. Let's see. Bozo needs his answer. Let's see. Come on. Sorry. Warhammer, that's yeah. That's what it was, the Warhammer Titan. I really wish there was more of that one. I have not watched that show in a long time though. Okay, so my favorite like little niche thing. I will say something that I liked or that I like in general is the balance of the combat in Rose of Starcross, which is like made up of a bunch of those tiny little things. I like the way the leaf dodging mechanic works, which actually it is ever so slightly different at this point in time than it was in that demo of Rose of Starcross, but I like that leaf mechanic because when you combine it with like the other rings, which some of the rings, are kind of like the perk system, but a couple of the rings have specific abilities that will do things like when you block things or perfectly block things, you will get like a little benefit, like a little bit of magic back or a little bit of the leaf meter. And so I like that the less you use the leaf meter, the more benefits you can get, including not needing to use your leaf magic to restore the meter. the next time you actually like have to have it for those like unblockable attacks. So like the better you are, you never have to waste a turn on filling up the leaf meter again. I like that. But that's pretty, I mean, that's not too uncommon. Lots of games have very, very similar stuff to that. But I like those little balances and things like that. And there's also, so the arrow ability in the Rosa Starcross demo was pretty different from the way that I had it in the prototype of Behind the Rose. And I re-implement after that demo, I re-implemented the original system, but kind of combined it with the newer version of it. So I think the arrow ability has some cool like little details in it now too. But otherwise, I don't know. But I do love that question. All right. How many instruments do I have? Good question. Let's see. I have, turning my head, I have 3 acoustic guitars. One of them is like a real, actual playable acoustic guitar. It's a Martin. And I have a Takamine, which is really pretty and cool looking, but I've had it forever, and it got so beat up. And literally one time I played guitar at like my aunt's wedding, and a photographer lady literally just like knocked it over while it was in its case. But she knocked it over by accident. She was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I was like, "No, it's probably fine." And I opened the guitar bag, and the entire headstock had broken off. So that guitar is currently like cemented back together, and it's horrible to play, but... and then the other one was like the little acoustic guitar that my sister learned guitar on, and that I learned guitar on, which I actually love that thing, but it is like a baby guitar. So really one functional acoustic guitar, 3 bass guitars. One is also like sentimental and crappy in that I never ever play. And then one is kind of similar to the Takamine, where I've had it forever and learned on it and played with it in like a band and stuff and just did not respect it. So it's kind of crappy. And so then I have a 5-string bass guitar, which I got within the past couple of years. And it's my actual bass guitar that I use for stuff. I have an 8-string guitar, a 7-string guitar, and I have 3 6-string guitars. Guitar is my main instrument, obviously. And they're all pretty different. Pretty much every one of my guitars is pretty different, so I use them all for like different stuff. But then I have a keyboard. I have a mini Moog that has like a vocoder built in, so that's fun. And similarly, I have a talk box, which I actually used on the Starcross Starcade special trailer, the new one. There's TalkBox on that, so that's fun. And I have like a MIDI keyboard controller that, you know, you could just plug up to like your computer and your DAW and do that stuff with. I think that's it. I might have one more. I think I have a couple like miscellaneous cheap little instruments, you know, like a harmonica and like probably like $1 recorder and maybe like an $8 recorder, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, good amount of instruments, pretty much all guitar based, really, because I've been playing guitar for a very long time. And 6 3-string guitars. Yeah, it is a lot of guitars. Yeah, I mostly use the TalkBox with the mini Moog. But you can do it with anything. You can do it with a guitar, which what is it? Bon Joni, John Bovine Joni, Living on a Prayer. Does that starts with the talk box? I think. It's like the whoa, 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 whoa. That's guitar. Kickstart My Heart guitar solo. Anything from Peter Frampton? If you know these names. Oh God, you plug it into your dog. Got that dog in him. But yeah, I mostly use it with the Mini Moog, and also just if I want to do like a weird sound, I'll use just my MIDI keyboard and then like input that into the computer, output the computer to the talk box. Because the way a talk box works, if anyone doesn't know, it's literally just it's like a speaker with a tube taped over the speaker. So all of the sound comes out of the long, thin tube. And then you like put the tube back in the corner of your mouth. And instead of using your vocal cords to make the sounds, you just like let the audio play through the tube. And then you move your mouth and make enunciations and lip sounds with no vocal cord stuff, and that's how you do a talk box. People normally use them with like a synthesizer and like a saw wave, which is why, yeah, that Mini Moog is really good for it. Peter Frampton, my split. I like how there's only 3 of them too. Like just like the real Beatles, and then that other guy that kept tagging along. Nemo. Oh, that's good. I like that. Ugh, wow. Okay. I guess we're just chilling now for a minute. I'm not gonna like cut the stream off right now or anything like that. But I may end a little bit early today just because there is some today has been kind of a busy day. Been needing to clean house and get ready for an event for my sister. And so if after like, we'll hang out for another like 20 minutes or something at least. And if there aren't any more like big questions or anything by then I might cut it just a little short. Just a little bit. I should also make a list of any kind of games or activities I can do here. Because I don't want to run away the second I run out of questions, and then, someone shows up later and is like, wow, he only streamed for like 50 minutes. And so I did not have time to show up and ask a question. Do you, Vedvix? Maybe. I used to have a whiteboard, and I just had a problem with not putting things on it. I do need to do that again, though. I need to find somewhere that I can put one that doesn't make my room junky. I found that, well, I know everyone is, but I've become like hyper susceptible to a junky room while I work. And by that, I just mean like anything can be sitting out, and that like distracts me. I do have a tiny little whiteboard that is supposed to be a calendar that I also never use. But the other day I heard a quote that I really, really liked. So I wrote it on there, and I'm not like a quote on the wall kind of guy. But it's very simple. And it really touched me. It's live, laugh, learn. It's like, doesn't that really just sum it up? Then I erased it and I put another one up, which is complexity isn't an engineering problem. Complexity is a brain compute problem. Which I thought was a little poignant. I liked that. Basically just like, just because you're looking at something that seems too complex and you don't understand it currently, doesn't mean that it's an issue of that thing or that thing is completely ununderstandable. It's just that you need to learn more, that you can learn about it. I mean, it means a couple different things, but in the context that I heard it, that's what it was about. and it was like in relation to the 30,000 foot problem, which I also learned about in that moment, which is a nice thing that I like knowing about now. Oh, do I do programming Q&As for my tutorial series? That's not necessarily what these are for. These are just kind of for any general questions and checking in and everything. Mostly because I can't. Those are really hard problems to diagnose remotely and quickly. But if you are having an issue, you can ask me about it, and I can give you like hopefully a general direction to go to try and solve it. But I can't answer like specific questions, especially because a lot of those series I did, over the past few years. So I'm pretty far removed from. It's been a while since I've like looked at the code for some of those myself. But yeah, no, I mean, feel free to ask if you need to, and then but unfortunately, I may not be able to give like a good direction for you, but I can try and point you in the right place for sure. On the edge of tomorrow. Perfect chaos. $15,000. Oh. The shoe, period. I don't know, man. I just don't know. Is everyone else tired today? Is it just a tired kind of day? That is 30,000 shoe. Wow. We're just going up in the ratings right now. I don't know. Are you sure that not every human being on the planet experiences all the same emotions at me at the same time? Are you sure? I just need a little confirmation there. Fine. All right, let's see. What's something I can blab on about for a minute before so this stream isn't just like an hour and 5 minutes long. There's something I wanted to blab about on one of these that I said I was going to blab about and then I didn't. What was that? I don't know. Oh, like a crouch mechanic with you just mean like with a full animation to crouch down and not just two things. Yeah, you can. I mean, there's like a million ways to do something like that. You can, whenever like you press the crouch button and, maybe let me think, because it also depends on like, do you want the animation just for smoothness, and like, do you still want the hitbox to be instant, or is it like a kind of delayed crouch where it's a little tactical? So you probably need to start doing the crouch before you feel like you're in danger, or when you're in danger, but there's not necessarily something directly in front of you or something like that. But regardless, something that you could do is like once you're switching to the crouched state or whatever, you just switch to a sprite that has a full animation that maybe ends on the full crouch and start the animation from there. Make sure the animation plays and doesn't get paused by some other code or something like that. And then pause it at the final frame, which would be like, the image index -1. And then just like clamp it there so it doesn't like keep looping, and just use that with a clamp. So like clamp the image index to be like, between 0 and its maximum entry, which is the image number -1. I think I said all those right. Hopefully I didn't interchange any of those, but that's one way you could do it. You could also like, and that way, if you're in the middle of the animation, you let go, it shouldn't be a problem because you'll be switching out of the crouching state. But you could also do a thing where you like switch to a crouching transition animation, and then on like the animation end trigger of that, swap to the fully crouched animation, which could be a single frame or like an idle version of it. And yeah, so there's a few different ways to do it. Just basically you want to make sure that you just make sure your image index stops on the frame you want it to stop on, or switches to the correct animation you want it to switch to. And make sure that your animation isn't getting paused by any other kind of code that you might have. Wait. Didn't hear the answer about Attack on Titan. You had worms in your trash can that you need to kill. Sorry, worms. I said I liked the Warhammer Titan. I don't think the question was specifically about design, but it was just what my favorite Titan was, and I think that is the coolest looking one to me. It was always weird to me that the Attack Titan has like these like elf ears. All of like the special Titans look so wildly different from each other. Yeah, let me let me know if you figure out the crouching animation thing. Hopefully that gave you a decent idea. And yeah, I'll just say it again. I think if you're like using my platformer code, which I'm assuming you are, probably the biggest thing you'll need to make sure is just that none of the other sprite control stuff is going to get in the way of that. So like adding your own parameters, or checking if you're in the crouching state, and maybe making like a variable that's been like a that lets the game know if you've transitioned to or from the crouching state. There's like a trigger variable that happens in the very beginning, so it like swaps the sprite out or something like that. Hopefully I'm not just adding more things that end up being confusing sounding. Man, dude, there's a lot of games and movies and things happening in like September, and also a lot of personal things going on. And I feel like I'm, obviously aside from the personal things, I feel like I'm gonna miss a lot of stuff. And I realized I think I'm gonna miss stuff right now because I don't remember when it comes out, but I know the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake comes out this month, which I only learned because I opened the greatest browser of all time today, Opera GX, and it told me about all the gaming that's happening. And I'm pretty curious about that game, but I will not have the time to play it because I also haven't tried Elden Ring Night Rain, which I'm not like the most interested in the world in, but I was interested enough to play it, but I just didn't have the time. More than anything, I don't have Donkey Kong. Still no Donkey Kong, man. What the heck? One of these days, I'll find a hyperbolic time chamber and catch up on a bunch of games and stuff. What else has happened in September? Oh, dude, Sonic Cross Worlds Racing, of course. Deltarune Night Rain. Very, very cool stuff. And also, honestly, the main thing I want to do right now is just replay Chapter 3 and 4 of Deltarune. I've only played it once. That's like the main thing I would love to have time to right now. I am playing third entry in the Hyperlight series. I am playing Mother 3 again right now, which is like my nightly game. And because it's like a Game Boy game, I can just like play it very lazily, I could just play it for like 20 minutes every night while I'm in bed and not like super focused on it. Oh, okay. I never knew that detail. Okay, that makes sense. I need to. I'll probably rewatch that show at some point. Uh, it's a lot of episodes though. I was literally just saying I was. Well, I've already seen it though, so I don't have to like pay full attention to it. So I might start putting that on again at some point. I don't know. What was I saying? I don't know. I'm just talking about stuff. Oh yeah, Mother 3. I think I'm like halfway done with Mother 3 again, and it's been like 8 years since I played that game, and I've only played it once. Um, Dude, but do you ever do that thing where when you play a game and something's going on with your life situation or whatever, and it's one of those times where things are just kind of like good, and like cozy, and like the way you played the game was like optimal in terms of enjoying it. Like I remember I was living in an apartment whenever I played Mother 3 for the first time, and I can't. It must have just been like one of the only times where school was not torture, or maybe it was in a small amount of time where I didn't have school or anything, and I was just like playing Mother 3 at night after like working on my game all day, and then I would get like. I lived in Memphis, and there was a donut place around that was really, really good. So I would go get a donut and chocolate milk, and I would play Mother 3. And I have excellent memories of playing Mother 3 for the first time. And I feel very similarly about the other games I mentioned earlier as like some of my favorite games, because I think that's like part of it. It's like Dark Souls 1. I played with a friend who I hadn't seen for a while. I'd like moved away and then like came back to visit this friend, and we played Dark Souls 1 together for the first time. And it was just like, it was so good. It was such a cool vibe, and I love Dark Souls so much. Man. I have to wear the, did I do that at one point? I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, yeah, no, I wouldn't, yeah, all right. Look, pal. Just leave me alone. Rose of Picross. I need to actually play Picross. I need to finish Logic Bombs, man. I'm still on that third row, I think. That game is hard. That's not an easy game to play. You know what I mean? No, because no one's played it. I wonder how many people did get it. I kind of want to follow up on that and see. My Steam Deck has been dead though, and I've tried to play it like every night for the past 3 nights, and then I like lean over and get my Steam Deck. I'm like, well, it's still dead. Crazy that I didn't charge it and it's still dead. My charger's in another room, so maybe I need to do that once I hop off here, which will probably be in just a couple minutes. We've all gotten nice and chill and complacent, so. I feel that I can return to work a little bit earlier on this week. Hopefully, maybe it's just as the weeks go on, it'll just be like, I'll show up and we'll talk for like 5 minutes, and then I'll be like, all right, see ya. That would be. Could you imagine my channel having like 25? The last like 25 things uploaded were like 4-minute streams, where the first 3 minutes is me getting audio levels right. How's StarCross Starcade Special going? It's going very good. It's going very good. I talked about this a little bit earlier before you joined, but this last week has been kind of frustrating because I haven't been able to do a ton of work on it for a couple reasons, but what I have been doing is like refactoring my menu system, which can be fun and a little therapeutic, but also can be really, really boring. But I'm like right at the end of that. I think the additions that I just made like right before we started stream kind of finished up the base level implementation of it. And so there's still some stuff I need to go back and like, there are old menus I need to replace with the new ubiquitous menu system that I have. So I'll still have to do some, which that stuff is even more boring and stressful than actually remaking a system. to me at least. So I still have to do that, which sucks, but at least the menus are pretty much done. But yep. Yeah, the menus, yeah, they can be annoying, especially if you want them to be like kind of modular and do different stuff at once. But I'm happy with the version I have because it can do a lot of things. It can like show the names. It can do at its like simplest, it'll just be like, a list of names all aligned to the left, just top to bottom, with the options, which that's a very simple thing to do. But a nice thing that I have in it is if I have like a bunch of menus needed for something, like a pause menu, that, has a bunch of different little sub menus and stuff like that. I have it set up to where each one has its own like cursor positions and data and things like that. And it does this nice little like lerping animation to going between the options and stuff like that. And so no matter how many I have on screen at once, they all run on their own logic, which is just makes things a little bit easier for certain stuff. But it also has it built into where like they animate in and they animate out in a really easy way. And I can also disable all that stuff too. So I'm going to add that as like an option, to have like very plain menus with no animation. So they're just like super fast. But the animation itself isn't like overbearing, I don't think. But at its like most complex, you could have like a list of options on the left and then like a list of sprite icons on the right for certain things, or a list of text, and you can mix and match, and options that will like center themselves automatically if there is no like left and right entry to it. And then a ton of other little stupid parameters that are probably all useless, but I do that thing where I'm like, but I want absolute control over everything all the time. So, yeah, I probably worked a little too hard on refactoring that with certain stuff, with maybe some features that won't really get used, but I'm glad I have it in case I want to add something. Oh yeah, I need to. I'll timestamp this. Or you're here right now, so you got it. No, someone else might want the answer to this. Hold on. So this is 122. Okay. Right. Okay. It's a question on the saving loading thing. This is going to be a bad answer, so I probably went through too much trouble to reply to it properly. I'm pretty positive the second video does talk about loading the saving and loading the game file, like, so when you turn the game off, you can actually reload it again. I know the first one is explicitly focused on just saving the rooms individually, so kind of like making your own version of room persistence, more or less. And I'm pretty sure the second one specifically goes into how to do like a JSON file. It's been years since I've done that, so I can't fully remember, but I can't imagine I would have made it without including that as a feature. Have I tried to make a multiplayer game in Game Maker? I have not, but I think it's like something that Game Maker just straight up supports now. Like doesn't Game Maker have like rollback or something like that? So I have not personally tried, but I think it should theoretically be pretty easy. Oh, I did make one like local multiplayer game one time, like years ago, for me and my roommates. It was literally just like you flew around as a little guy with a jetpack and 360 degree shooting. So it was basically just a twin stick shooter with like kind of weird physics, like kind of goofy physics. And that was really easy. I did that really early on when I was learning stuff. So it's not too hard. It can kind of be a little bit to wrap your mind around in the first place, but yeah, that ended up working out fine for me. But as far as an actual multiplayer game, I would love to try and make one, but the thing is I don't play a lot of multiplayer games. And so it's kind of like the roguelike thing that I mentioned earlier, where it's like, I think it would be fun to try and make one, but I wouldn't be making it out of like a passion for a certain type of game or a certain genre or something like that. I'd just be making it because I'd be interested to know more about the ins and outs of it, and it would sound like a fun project. I don't know if I've ever had any. Well, I've had some game concepts that were like multiplayer, but like only like idea guy levels of ideas. You know what I mean? Where they're just like clearly they'd be too high scope for me to ever attempt by myself or on my own, or maybe even in an indie team in the first place. Like it would be something I wouldn't want to waste time with trying to do. That would be kind of a fun thing to do, though, is like sit down and come up with like a reasonable online multiplayer game that I could actually make on my own. Because there are like certain games that I've like never played, but that do seem like very attractive to me to play, but I still just don't want to. So maybe my best excuse to play a game like that would be like to make my own, and you know. Yeah, I have no idea how difficult actually doing like online uh like networks, especially like I feel like making a fighting game would be so scary to do multiplayer wise. Because I can imagine that absolutely being a headache. Because it's also, yeah, yeah. I again, I don't play fighting games anyways, but it would still be a fun game to try and make. But yeah, I'd be too scared of that one. If I ever tried to make an online game, it would be like a super passive game. Like it would be like a sim type game, or something more akin to an MMO where you just like run around and talk to people and then maybe get in like turn-based battle or something like that. You know, nothing that required, you know, fast real-time stuff. I'm not even anywhere near confident to try that out. Is Rosa Starcross going to be on the Switch 2? Yup. It is, because the idea is that it's still going to be on the Switch 1, and there should be no problems with compatibility there. And I seriously doubt there would be... I would hope that Rosa Starcross runs at a pretty perfect 60 on the Switch 1. So, you know, obviously the same should be the case for Switch 2. A sim MMO hybrid mix. King of the Jungle. Yeah, my easy idea is to sort of just make like an MMO that, you know, at least I'm thinking 70 to 80% of every human being on Earth plays. And I'm thinking like what we'll kind of do is, you know, to make sure that the server's never too empty with like, you know, the 6 billion people, that will also have our own procedural NPC system. So there should be 10 NPCs to one person. So it feels really special when you meet a person. So we're just going to need to, you know, run, you know, have a server that keeps track of about 6 billion people, but also roughly 60 billion NPCs. And that'll be, well, the thing is that'll be, you know, like a whole galaxy, right? Like that'll be like maybe 10 or like 400,000 planets or something like that. And we'll do that procedurally. So, yeah. Should be easy. Me and my team will probably get it done in you know, the last I don't know, give us 20 months and, you know, $900 million, and you know, you'll be on the ground level. So yeah, I do have a really bad habit of seeing a question and then just going off for a while. So sorry. So sorry if it was not even a real question. I'm a yapper. Move to the mailroom, start to the ground floor. No. I was considering ending the stream right after that, but maybe not. Maybe not. But it's been about an hour and a half. So let's I think it's about time to call it, right? I think we're all good. We all need to get back to some kind of shenanigans. Ain't that the case? Did I see the question about lesbians? No, I did not. Yep, there it is. What is that emoji? Oh boy. It is very important. You know I don't tell spoilers. Of all people, you know this. I'm going to organize my file. Okay. Ugh. All right, well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thank you for the questions as always, hanging out. Very much appreciate it. Yep, see ya. Oh, a new joiner in the final moments. Oh yeah. We've already talked about that before. The dialogue system one. Yeah, at some point I'm definitely going to try and redo that, and I will most likely be doing it in the context of a new RPG series. So that absolutely will happen in the future, I promise. But I do need to finish my games first before I get back to serious work on a big YouTube series. But that will happen 100%. Honestly, man, and once that one goes up, I might even just get rid of the old dialogue system one. I don't know, or private it or something. I'll have to think about that for when the time comes. But yeah, man, thanks for stopping by. I think a couple people just like happened to show up as I was saying we're leaving. Well, I can hang out for like one more minute. We'll keep talking for one more minute. But hello, Jennifer. Thank you very much for stopping in as well. Oh, yeah, I definitely wouldn't get rid of the dialogue system video before I had a better, more modern version of the video out. I definitely would not because that's like the main reason I still keep it up is because a lot of people get a lot of use out of it and a lot of people really like it. But a lot of people don't like that it's complicated or don't like it for multiple reasons. So if I can figure out just a better version that doesn't sacrifice any of the modular settings of the original text box system, but I can still make it simpler with better practices and things like that. If that goes up, I'll definitely probably replace it, or I don't know, just add like a pinned comment or I'll do the YouTube thing. I forgot people do this. I'll put outdated in the beginning of the title of the first one and then point people to the new one. Because I don't really want to get rid of it, but also if there is a better version of it, I don't want people to just use the worst version of it to, potentially learn bad habits or anything like that. Yeah, just rename it to old system. Yeah. I think that's definitely what I'm going to do. I kind of forget that you can change titles of videos after they're up. That's like kind of a little wild to me. But okay, cool. All right, I'm glad I got one more question in. Thank you very much. All right, everybody. I hope you had a good week, and I hope you have a good week until we speak again. All right. Okay. Locations of things. There we go. Yep, you have a good day too. Thank you very, very much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. All right, there we are. Okay, bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye.